This is Africa 54, and here's what's coming up. World leaders speaking at the UNGA addressed a variety of issues ranging from democracy to security and economic development. The Clinton Global Initiative ended its two-day 2023 summit in New York on Tuesday, where former U.S. President Bill Clinton spoke with Pope Francis and other leaders discussing finding solutions to global challenges. We'll have a report. And a new startup, Hamaton Agro Services Limited in Zambia, is teaching rural farmers essential skills in record keeping, cash flow management, and financial literacy. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. We begin our broadcast at the United Nations General Assembly underway in New York, and a first round of speeches delivered by world leaders. Many of the heads of state focused on dire realities in their respective countries and the urgent need to improve the lives of millions of people. VOA's Veronica Balderas Iglesias reports from New York.
Under tight security measures, several world leaders attending the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly explained how the plight of their citizens brought them to New York.
We are here to shorten the gaps of hunger and poverty.
The priorities of the most advanced economies were also heard loud and clear.
To join together with partners who share a common vision of the future of the world, where our children do not go hungry and everyone has access to quality health care, where workers are empowered and our environment is protected.
However, ahead of a week of high-level meetings at UNGA, a UNICEF report warned that the world is still grappling with multiple crises, including health and economic challenges. It also urged world leaders to put children's rights at the top of their agendas. The devastating effects of climate change and how they are exacerbated by world inequities didn't go unnoticed on Tuesday.
Thousands of people in Derna, Libya, lost their lives in epic, unprecedented flooding. Even now, as we speak, bodies are washing ashore from the same Mediterranean Sea where billionaires sunbathe on their super yachts. Derna is a sad snapshot of the state of our world.
But things don't have to be so dire, said Dennis Francis, president of the General Assembly.
By putting aside our differences and bridging divides, we can deliver, we must deliver peace, progress, prosperity, and sustainability to everyone, everywhere.
More calls to action are expected to be made on Wednesday when more world leaders deliver their speeches at the UN headquarters in New York.
For more on the UNGA, I'm joined live from UN headquarters by VOA's Veronica Balderas Iglesias. Veronica, welcome to Africa 54.
Hi, Esther. Yes, well, we actually have a lot of information about what has happened this morning at the UN Security Council. There were moments of a lot of tension between the Albanian Prime Minister, who is the president, the rotating president of the UN Security Council, and the Russian Federation representative. Russia was accusing basically Albania of having some biases, of allowing first to the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, to give him the first opportunity to speak before any other members of the council. After that, the Albanian Prime Minister said that everything was in compliance with the UN security rules. So President Zelensky was able to deliver his speech. He actually spoke about the need to reform the Security Council. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the things that he suggested. First of all, to get rid of the veto power, also to expand the opportunity for other countries to become permanent members, and most importantly, in his view, to stipulate what concrete sanctions would be applied if any member were to invade another country, Esther.
Now, we know that several African presidents have spoken, but there was an interesting kind of remarks from Namibia's president, U.N.G.A on COVID-19 vaccine. Fill us in on that.
Yes, he actually mentioned what he called the vaccine apartheid. He said that the wealthy nations basically are preventing developing nations from, creating or producing the vaccines. He emphasized the need for technology transfer as well as eliminating what he called the barrier to, produce because of the intellectual property, the vaccines. So he paid special attention to today's expected adoption of the Pandemic Prevention and Preparedness and Response Political Declaration, Esther.
Okay, now we heard a little bit from Martin Griffiths, the Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs. He said he made some remarks on Sudan and the ongoing conflict. What more do you know, Veronica?
Yes, that's right. He actually said that the humanitarian crisis in Sudan is getting worse. He expressed specific concerns about it engulfing the whole country, but also the whole region. I'm going to give you some of the numbers that he shared. At least 5,000 people have been killed, but that's an underestimation. There are 13 mass graves in places like El Geneina, and there are more than 5 million people that have had to flee. There's a complete breakdown as well of the healthcare system, and they cannot really provide any aid because of the safety conditions that are just becoming worse by the day, Esther.
Veronica, many thanks for your reporting. VOA's Veronica Balderas Iglesias reporting live for us from the UN headquarters in New York. Now, several African leaders speaking at the UNGA addressed a variety of issues ranging from democracy and security to economic development. Let's hear from several of them, beginning with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa.
As a global community, we should be concerned by the recent incidents of unconstitutional changes of government in some parts of Africa. The global community needs to work alongside the African Union to support peace efforts in the DRC, in Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Mali, Central African Republic, South Sudan, North Mozambique, the Great Lakes region, the Sahel, Niger, and the Horn of Africa. The African Union Peace and Security Council has declared that it stands ready to deepen its cooperation with the UN Security Council to silence the guns on the African continent and to achieve peace and stability and development.
Regarding Niger, we are negotiating with the military leaders. As chairman of ECOWAS, I seek to help establish democratic governance in a manner that addresses the political economy challenges confronting that nation, including violent extremists who seek to foment instability in our region. I extend a hand of friendship to all of you who may genuinely support this mission for a democratic governance in that nation.
La tragédie de l'immigration clandestine.
The tragedy of illicit migration reminds us of the need to implement the Global Compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration, and to continue to combat the criminal networks that are organizing this illicit traffic of human beings.
Rwanda remains committed to working with partners, including the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, to contribute to a durable solution. This decision is informed by our experience and knowing firsthand the pain of losing everything and not having a place to call home. That is part of our promise to leave no one behind. We continue to need a more effective forum to manage global crises.
Rwandan President Paul Kagame there, wrapping up our sampling of African leaders speaking at the UNGA. The Clinton Global Initiative wrapped up its two-day summit in New York on Tuesday, and VOA's Peter Clotty has the details.
Opening this year's summit, U.S. former President Bill Clinton spoke with Pope Francis via remote link. They discussed what it takes to find solutions to global challenges such as climate change, the refugee crisis, the welfare of children. Malawian President Lazarus Chakwera talked about the food situation facing the people of Malawi.
Now we have this a program to help farmers, many of whom are subsisting. We call them smallholder farmers.
A spotlight session at the summit focused on the topic of the shifting of power. New philanthropic approaches can transform the world of social impact. Matt Damon, a Nigerian entrepreneur and philanthropist Tony Elumelu, spoke during the session. Elumelu talked about his foundation's commitment towards democratizing luck to help young Africans become self-sufficient.
We need to play our own role in helping to empower a generation of entrepreneurs, our young ones, our young males and females in particular, and our women on the continent.
The Clinton Global Initiative was founded by former U.S. President Bill Clinton. Officials say the organization is a community of donors who represent all people who are unified in their commitment to work together.
That was VOA's Peter Clotty in New York reporting on the Clinton Global Initiative. Children are returning to class in Morocco's Atlas Mountains less than 2 weeks after a 6.8 magnitude earthquake killed and injured thousands of people there and razed whole villages. With about 600 area schools destroyed, many students are studying in tents for now, or the nearest city of Marrakesh. And Lisa Brandt reports from the town of Amizmiz.
Less than 2 weeks ago, Atlas Primary School in Amizmiz was filled with children. Nearly 500 kids studied here. At least 8 died during the late-night earthquake as they slept in homes nearby. Lives and futures suddenly halted. Imad Moulay Othman's children studied here. His dad worked as a school janitor.
I'm hoping for a speedy solution for the kids to get back to studying.
The family sleeps outside. They're fearful of another earthquake. Othman's children are still traumatized by the quake, which killed one of their classmates. In this poor mountainous region, education can be a ticket to a better life.
Kids aren't dropping out of school like before. Parents are aware of the importance of education.
Tissam Termi teaches and lives at a remote village school. Her leg was broken when a classroom wall collapsed during the quake, which also killed 4 of her students. Some of the dead are buried at this cemetery in Amizmiz.
What's important now is daily survival. Education comes after.
Atlas Primary would have celebrated its 100th birthday in a couple of years. Now its pupils and the region face the difficult task of rebuilding and moving on. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Amizmiz, Morocco.
United Nations agencies say more than 1,200 children have died of suspected measles and malnutrition in Sudanese refugee camps, while thousands more, including newborns, are at risk of death before year-end. Meantime, the World Health Organization says there have been 56 verified attacks on healthcare in Sudan since the conflict began, and about 70% to 80% of hospitals in conflict states are now out of service. For more on the breakdown of health services in Sudan, I'm joined from New York by Dr. Abdullah Adam, Director of Strategic Planning at the Sudanese American Physicians Association. Dr. Abdullah, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much, Esther, for having me, and thank you for Voice of America and Africa 54 listeners and viewers.
Now, Doctor, with Sudan's war still ongoing, how are hospitals functioning?
Well, like you correctly stated, the healthcare system is totally collapsed. So it's more than 80% now is out of commission because of direct attacks and unsafe environments for the workers.
I understand you are in constant touch with the hospitals and the doctors in Sudan, and your organization says now there's only one pediatric hospital functioning in the city of Khartoum. How are the doctors there coping with the increased health demands?
Well, Esther, to begin with, it's very hard to imagine what our colleagues on the ground are going through. It's very hard. They sacrificing courageously to tackle the issues there. Yes, you mentioned one of the only hospitals that's effectively working in the areas of pediatric care is Al Bulaq Hospital in Omdurman, under the direct care or support of our organization, the Sudanese American Physicians Association. There are a couple of other doctors, and this is within the state of the whole state of Khartoum. The other two hospitals are Annau and Ban Jadid, and these are very limited services over there. So the only hospital really that's effective is Al Bulaq Hospital. And SAPA is unique actually in supporting our colleagues and the hospitals in terms of providing incentives, direct monetary incentives for all workers from top to bottom, so that we can keep the lights on and the doors open for patients.
Doctor, very quickly, what are the long-term implications of the breakdown of the health system in Sudan if the warring factions there don't put their minds together and let the hospitals do their work?
Obviously, the mortality rate will increase, and the suffering of Sudanese people will be skyrocketing. The most vulnerable are the children and women, and we know that about more than 300,000 deliveries or babies will be expected to be born in Sudan through the rest of the year. And the maternity care is almost non-existent, and as well as the child care as well. The other area is the preventive medicine, which is also very in danger as well.
Doctor, thank you very much for your insight into this and helping the doctors back there in Sudan. Dr. Abdullah Adam is the Director of Strategic Planning at Sudanese American Physicians Association. Still to come, a Zambian company teaches farmers essential skills in financial literacy. We'll be back.
This week on Straight Talk Africa, leaders from over 150 countries are gathering in New York for the annual United Nations General Assembly. This year, the war in Ukraine and climate change are expected to monopolize conversations. What is the status of the Sustainable Development Goals? Join me, Haiti Adams, and my guests for analysis on the next Straight Talk Africa.
In other news, Rwandan President Paul Kagame says he plans to run for a fourth term in elections to be held next year. The Rwandan government in March decided to synchronize the dates for its parliamentary and presidential elections due to be held in August 2024. Kagame presided over controversial constitutional amendments in 2015 that allowed him to run for more terms and stay in power until 2034. Morocco, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have announced that the annual meetings of the two global institutions would proceed in October in Marrakech, despite a recent nearby earthquake that killed nearly 3,000 people. And the Malian army says of its 5 soldiers are dead following an attack on 2 military camps in northern Mali. 11 others are missing. The attack on Sunday was claimed by armed groups dominated by Tuaregs who took up arms in 2012, seeking autonomy or independence. A center in Lome, Togo, is offering free training to young unemployed mothers looking for a way to support their families. It's called the Moms in Digital program, and the goal is to get more women into digital careers. Asinion Amin has the story, narrated here by Salem Solomon.
These mothers are waiting for their turn to be interviewed. They are all beneficiaries of a program called Moms in Digital, an initiative that offers unemployed mothers a space to learn the skills needed to build a new career online. Lina Ninavi founded the program. Ninavi says the program started when the women met 6 years ago to discuss issues focusing on education and childcare. But later, they found out that mothers need more.
Many women today quit their jobs because of the difficulty in finding reliable nannies. We understood that we had to find them professional opportunities that did not force them to separate from their babies. So that's how Moms in Digital was born.
Marie Balbako is one of the program's participants. Unemployed for 6 months, this mother of 3 decided to embark on a new adventure.
It's an opportunity that will benefit me since it's digital. Now we're using WhatsApp and Facebook. Maybe there is even more to learn. I want to get into business.
For the 2 months, these women will learn the fundamentals of information technology or IT, digital marketing and business administration, says trainer Ella Asababil.
We will first introduce them to the basics of computers, what a computer is, and then management tools. We teach them how to use Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word. Then we introduce them and show them in-depth how, for example, with Excel, they can make tables to manage their income.
At the end of the program, students are connected with job opportunities. They'll be qualified to do online sales and have the tools necessary to go into administrative management. All they need is a computer and a good internet connection. For Amin Asinyo in Lome, Togo, Salem Solomon, VOA News.
A new startup called Hamaton Agro Services Limited in Zambia is focusing on teaching farmers essential skills in financial literacy. The company provides comprehensive training and practical guidance to empower farmers to make informed financial decisions. Africa 54 technology correspondent Paul Ndiho spoke to Henry Malambo, founder and CEO of Hamaton Agro Services Limited.
Welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
You have come up with this innovation where you're trying to help farmers in Zambia maybe scale up or advance using technology. Let's start there.
Hamaton Agro Services itself is an agro-produce supply and marketing company. So our model is an inclusive model that works with smallholder farmers. And one of our key values of working with smallholder farmers is by helping them improve productivity. So to help them do that, we needed farmers around Zambia to understand finances, which is one of the things that in where we come from is something that is not considered part of farming. So farming as a business is one thing that also has sprouted and has been something that is being talked about today in Zambia, to say we need to know our financials as farmers so that we can know how to become more productive.
So you decided to come up with a basic model, a book or a guideline of sorts that helps these farmers to do record keeping to do their finances?
Yes. So this book, we made it because when we saw that farmers needed something very basic to understand. They understand two things that we picked up. They know their numbers and they know what they're spending on. So this one, it has basic instructions in the beginning and just motivation for the farmers. So we also train them on how to actually enter the information. A farmer growing, for example, cabbage today that's looking to supply has this book, and all they have to do is just enter information in the spaces in the box. So they can enter the date, the description of the expense, and what they are spending on. We realize that about 60% of farmers do not know their cost of production, especially rural farmers. Yes. So because they don't know, and because they don't know, every time they sell their produce, everything is considered profit. So because of that, now you find that a farmer will sell all his produce and look at his money as profit and then spend all of it. And when farming season comes, they start looking for money again. So that is the situation we started dealing with.
You're probably touching something that cuts across almost all countries, whether it's in Zambia, whether it's in rural Ghana. This is what farmers deal with on a daily, day-to-day basis. The types of farmers that you're dealing with, how are they responding to this kind of initiative that you've come up with?
It's been very positive in the sense that they equally want to grow as farmers, because we try to interact, we share this information on a personal level, where we make them understand that you have been a farmer for 15, 20 years. You look at their appearance, their financial status, their home, they still stay in thatched houses, they still don't even own a bicycle. So when we start sharing this, they really feel the need to grow. So hence they accept what we are offering at the moment. And I want to state also that this is one of the challenges why certain farming communities are not growing to anything, because they have neglected records of how they do farming as a business. As we pioneer record keeping in agriculture as a company, we will see a lot of such documents being presented in the farming community.
That was technology correspondent Paul Ndiho speaking to Henry Malambo, CEO and founder of Hamaton Agro Services Limited. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thank you for watching.